Cycles of Trust. Chapter 1, The Signal. The hum of machines filled the air, faint but omnipresent in the sprawling observatory nestled in the Andes. Dr. Lenora Vasquez, the night shift lead, leaned back in her chair, sipping cold coffee from a battered thermos. Her eyes scanned the rows of monitors, searching for the slightest anomaly in the endless data feeds streaming in from deep space probes. It was a routine as monotonous as the white noise of the servers. That was until the noise changed. Lenora called an intern from across the room, their voice tinged with confusion. "I think I found something." Lenora's heart sank. More often than not, something was a calibration error or a rogue satellite bouncing back echoes. "Define something, Raj," she said, pushing her chair back with a sigh. "It's rhythmic," he replied, gesturing to his screen. "And it's repeating." She strode over, her tired eyes narrowing as she examined the data. The screen showed a series of pulses, perfectly spaced. Her initial skepticism dissolved into a low, simmering excitement. The pattern wasn't random, and the spacing wasn't natural. "Run a Fourier analysis," she said quickly, her voice tightening. "Check for interference. Cross-reference with terrestrial sources." The room grew tense as the team worked, their focus shifting from weary routine to laser-sharp intensity. Within minutes, the results were clear: the signal wasn't terrestrial. It wasn't noise. And it wasn't natural. "Lenora," Raj whispered, his voice trembling. This can't be real, can it?" Her fingers hovered over the console, her mind racing. "Get the director," she said, her voice firm despite the adrenaline surging through her. Now. The discovery spread like wildfire. Within hours, the signal dominated global headlines. News anchors struggled to convey the enormity of the event while keeping their voices steady. Social media erupted in a chaotic mix of celebration, skepticism, and outright panic. Some called it the greatest moment in human history. Others, the beginning of the end. In a small, dimly lit office in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Dr. Elias Kane sat hunched over his desk. Papers were scattered everywhere, half-filled notebooks piled on one side and holographic displays on the other. He was lost in a translation project, an attempt to piece together a fragmented script from a long-dead culture. The knock on his door was sharp and impatient, pulling him from his thoughts. "Dr. Kane," a man's voice called. Elias frowned. He rarely had visitors. Rising slowly, he opened the door to find a man in a dark suit and a polished badge clipped to his pocket. "Dr. Elias Kane?" the man asked again. "Yes," Elias replied cautiously. The man stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, handing Elias a sleek tablet. "This is classified information, doctor, but we believe you'll want to see it." Elias's eyes flicked to the screen, and the air seemed to thicken around him. The tablet displayed a sequence of symbols overlaying harmonic waves, all arranged in patterns so precise they felt deliberate. His heart raced. "What am I looking at?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The signal," the man said simply. "It's from deep space, likely sent by an intelligent extraterrestrial source. We need your expertise to help decode it." Elias stared at the screen, his mind already dissecting the patterns. The symbols spoke to him in ways he couldn't articulate, like they were tapping into a part of his brain that had been waiting for this exact moment. But then the weight of his past crashed over him. His wife's face, his son's laugh, the sound of the explosion that tore them away, memories that had haunted him for years. He stepped back, shaking his head. "I'm not the right person for this." "Doctor," the man said, his tone softening. "We don't have time to find someone else. This isn't just a puzzle. It's a conversation, and we need someone who knows how to listen." Elias closed his eyes, the symbols still burning in his mind. This wasn't just a challenge. It was a calling. The Interstellar Contact Initiative (ICI) came together in a matter of days, a rare moment of unity in a fractured world. The brightest minds from every corner of the globe converged to tackle the signal. Among them were names that would soon become legends: Dr. Elias Kane, the linguist and cultural anthropologist, Captain Adrian Cole, a seasoned military officer with a reputation for unflinching pragmatism, and Dr. Sophia Tanaka, an ethicist whose sharp intellect had shaped global policies on artificial intelligence. The three met for the first time in a sterile conference room at ICI headquarters. "So," Captain Cole said, his voice gruff as he extended a hand to Elias. "You're the language guy." Elias shook his hand, feeling the strength in Cole's grip. "And you're the one with the guns," he replied, his tone dry. Cole smirked. I like this one, he said, glancing at Sophia. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Let's hope you still like each other after 6 months in a tin can, she said, her voice even but tinged with humor. Elias appreciated her calm presence, a contrast to Cole's commanding energy. How much do we know about the signal? He asked, eager to shift focus. Sophia slid a folder across the table. Not much yet. It's mathematical, harmonic, and intentional. Beyond that, it's up to you to figure out what they're saying. And you? Elias asked, glancing at her. I'm here to make sure we don't screw this up, Sophia replied. Ethically, at least. Elias nodded, sensing the enormity of the task ahead. As the Astronova stood ready on the launch pad, the weight of the moment settled over the crew. Each member carried their own hopes, fears, and doubts, but none more than Elias. He stood on the observation deck, watching the final preparations. His mind raced with questions. What would they find? Could they truly communicate with another species? And if they did, would it bring humanity together, or tear it apart? Sophia joined him, her gaze steady as she looked out at the ship. Nervous? She asked. Terrified, Elias admitted. She smiled faintly. Good. It means you care. Captain Cole's voice crackled over the intercom. All crew to stations. It's time to make history. As Elias took his place aboard the Astronova, he glanced at the small photograph tucked into his notebook, a picture of his wife and son, their smiles frozen in time. The engines roared to life, shaking the ground beneath them. The countdown began, and with it, the weight of humanity's hopes and fears. As the ship lifted off, Elias felt both exhilaration and dread. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and unknowable. The signal still played softly in the background, a reminder of the mystery awaiting them. This was no longer just a mission. It was the beginning of a journey that would change everything.